It's time for the last quarterfinal at the World Championship Series Season 3. I can feel the energy starting to rise once again here in Krakow, and I think I have a slight guess as to why you guys might be excited. I heard that one of our players in the last match comes from a really awesome country called Poland. That's right. This is a match that a lot of you, not just here, but around the world, have been waiting for. And the first player I want to introduce, I had the honor to have breakfast with him this morning, and he said, I couldn't have asked for a better bracket. This youngster rolling in with the thunder hails from New Zealand, and ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Petraeus. And his opponent, do I even need to give a little background on him, representing not only Team Liquid, but Poland as a country. He's the home crowd favorite. Say it with me, everyone. It is MaNa! For itself. Let's get ready for the last quarterfinal.
What a quarterfinal to land on. MaNa has been waiting for this moment for a very, very long time, and it's finally happening here in the last quarterfinal of the day. It's MaNa versus Petraeus. I meant to say before boys, but came out before boys. Before we get into it, boys, the players did have, as always, a couple of words for each other.
Well, I would love to go to the semifinals, and then I will probably have to face Poland, most probably. And well, if I get to the grand finals, this is going to be a grand final in a long time for me, especially in front of a home crowd. So this is going to be another very memorable lifetime moment for me.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting even to make it to the round of 8, but now looking at the bracket and seeing that I actually have a shot at semis and maybe even finals if I play really well is like, I don't know, it's really a surreal feeling.
I think this will be pretty close. I'm gonna say 3-2, but for my win.
3-1. So if they cry, that's alright, but I'm sure they'll accept me as their new leader.
Wow. Well, you have a long shot, man. It's gonna be tough. Well, I'll definitely give them another opportunity to cheer for me. There's no way I'm going to lose after this.
Easiest match of my life.
Yeah, well, because you will lose quickly.
Welcome back to the expert panel here, joined by In Control Todd and Artosis. Guys, we can say words and words and words about MaNa, but I want to talk about Petraeus first. I think Petraeus is a player coming into this bracket that no one's really paying enough attention to. This guy secretly could sneak around to win the entire thing.
I have learned to respect that man. He was one of, if not, in my opinion, the most impressive player in the round of 16. He won always as the underdog as far as we were concerned, but he won in some of the most crisp and powerful fashion. It's kind of a weird comparison to make, but honestly, it feels a lot like some of those kind of Kespa Korean players, like the ones that really just, they have a game plan and they never falter and their execution is at top notch. And that's really weird, high praise for someone from New Zealand, I guess, but I mean it. He deserves it. He played amazing.
You know, maybe we shouldn't be so surprised about this. The Kiwis and the Aussies have actually been talking about Petraeus for a really long time, saying this kid has so much talent. He is coming. Watch out for him. And here he is now.
This is the first time that someone from that part of the world has made it to this deep in a tournament. Top 4, or top 8, should I say, in the World Championship Series. A massive feat for him. And he can go further than that.
Yeah, I think definitely he smashed through his group. He made Kung Fu Panda look like an easy match. And now he goes up against another Protoss who's not necessarily done well in the matchup as well. MaNa, remember, he lost a match in the group stage to Zenster, I think it was. So Petraeus, for me, might be the favorite here in this match. Well, I'm sorry, crowd, but
I know it's going to be a difficult match, no doubt here. But let's switch our focus to MaNa, the Polish player here. There's one thing that we can say for certain is that you cannot match his enthusiasm and his passion to playing in front of this crowd. He said it from the very beginning. This was his dream. It lit something up special inside when the WCS was coming to Poland, and now he's here. He's on that stage. All he's got to do now is perform.
I think much like the crowds gave Lil Bo some wings, you know, they made a lot of noise and it really pushed him. I think the same thing might happen here for MaNa. He might be able to play out of his mind if he hears the crowd make a lot of noise for him. It's really one of the things that we've seen a lot in the past, and how great would it be if somehow he played
and in the
best
round of
ever.
16, you think back to MaNa being put on the edge of the seat, and Rotterdam's mentioned it multiple times. Throughout this run, throughout this season, MaNa's been one map away from losing the entire tournament, one game away from losing the entire tournament, but he buckles down and he plays so very well under pressure, and he's looked fantastic in these situations.
Well, he's one of the most experienced StarCraft 2 pro gamers in this scenario that we have, actually. I think back all the way to the very beginning of StarCraft 2, where he faced Nama in the finals of the first DreamHack, and he talked about that. He's like, this is my first potentially grand final in a long time, and to do it in Poland, to do it in WCS, there's a lot of stars aligning. I'm getting a little bit nervous for those Petraeus fans, I think.
Are you getting some Arthos's nerd chills?
You know what? I certainly am. I'm really excited for this because I have to expand on what you just said there, Jeff. MaNa is more experienced than maybe every other player here. He's been a competitive player even... Whoa, there he is. Whoa! Serious face.
He's experienced and soulless.
Like, this guy has been a top-class competitor since as far back as when he was 11 or 12 years old. He was busting heads in StarCraft 1.
Since the Kadarian amulet.
Absolutely.
To give you an idea.
He's such a solid player. He's really smart because he has so much experience as well. And in front of this crowd, I think MaNa's going to take it.
Do you really?
I do.
Oh, that's too bad then.
He definitely has what it takes.
From one bad predictor to another.
He definitely has what it takes to win this, but can he do it? We do have the map vetoes. They are coming into us right now. Players have locked in the destinations that they want to play on. Of course, maps do have a slight influence, especially in these type of matches, Protoss versus Zerg. Todd, talk to us about some of the more difficult maps here that especially MaNa's going to be having to play on.
Yeah, I think Iron Fortress, Dash and Terminal, all these kind of maps, they're going to be very difficult. And oh my God, Dash and Terminal is going to be second here. Petraeus picked it
and
as
Iron Fortress.
Yeah, MaNa vetoed Bridgehead actually, which it means that Iron Fortress and Dash and Terminal are going to be in the map pool, which is not going to help his cause here. Cactus Valley and Coda are going to be okay. It's the first two that he picked,
Look
I
at
think.
that smart General Petraeus snatching up those maps you said too. They're his picks, Dash and Terminal and
So
Iron Fortress.
If MaNa makes it to Terraform as last map, I think he's going to have a pretty good chance, actually.
If he makes it to that 5th map, he is absolutely going to take it down, I would say, because these are such tough maps, which means he's taking these games that he needs to take.
And like, the first map is probably going to be obviously the most important, kind of almost is in every best of 5 and best of 7. On a map like Coda, where there isn't really that difficult of a time for Protoss to play on, this is the exact map that he has to really pick a win on. Otherwise, it is going to get difficult the later the series goes.
Well, yeah, I mean, map-wise, but honestly, even as players, they're interesting. Petraeus is a very strange Zerg in that he wants the game to get to the late game.
Yeah.
And MaNa, on the flip side, we haven't seen a third Nexus out of the guy. Like, he's a two-base kind of guy. It's going to be robos and gateways and a lot of aggression that way. So it's immovable object versus unstoppable force.
Is that the way we see this series then? Is Petraeus just looking to always get to the late game? Or should I say MaNa looking to stop him from getting to the late game?
I think so, yeah. I think Petraeus, he loves to reach that stage in the game where he's on a lot of bases. He has a lot of lava at his disposal to make some transitions. And MaNa, he knows how good Petraeus is in that stage of the game. So he's going to try to stop it through timings, maybe even some all-ins, depending on the maps. And he's gonna need to have some good execution, because Kung Fu Panda tried that earlier and it didn't go so well for him, even with a hidden probe in his opponent's base.
Is it not a little bit, well, or should I say easier to play against a player like that you know is going to be aggressive? Or should be at least aggressive?
It can be, but MaNa has way more experience than Petraeus. He's an older player, and he's really known as being a very smart player as well. So I think that that's exactly what you need. If he thinks that you're predictable and he thinks you're always going to do the same thing, you just start switching that up.
Yeah.
I think that if MaNa wins this, it has to be a strategic victory. He's not going to win it going into hour-long games.
Okay, so the players are almost ready. It's time to check in with our predictions here. Luckily for us, Artosis wasn't involved in Control.
Lucky for everybody else.
Lucky for everyone else throughout the week.
Used that yeah,
but we've got
8-0, guys. Really.
We really know how to walk the crowd.
Let's just say that these picks were done a long time ago.
Wait,
kind of
the crowd's vote is coming in. They vote Petraeus as well. This is incredible.
The thing is, why is it 8-0? Why has everybody said 8-0? Is it really that difficult for MaNa to pick this up?
Me and Tasteless think MaNa's going to win.
Yeah, Tasteless 9. Yeah.
That was too easy.
Artosis is a smooth criminal.
I think that the main reason is just that Petraeus has been so impressive in all of his recent matches, round of 16 particularly, whereas MaNa has been surviving. But like I said, the crowd here being on MaNa's side might change things up, even though Petraeus, he thinks he's not going to get nervous here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a difficult match.
And for me personally, I just think Petraeus is going to crush that nerd. Which is actually a really good sign for the Polish audience. Yeah, no laugh at all.
Because you have been, I know, you have not
You
been
really
so
bailed
well.
me out there. Thanks, by the way, host. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your input on this series. For one last time, it is the last quarterfinal of the day. Which is going to be the fourth player to go to the semifinals? Let's find out.
That's right, what a way to wrap up the day as we have Petraeus going up against MaNa here. And Petraeus being one of the biggest dark horses of the entire tournament here so far, looking fantastic, but of course, going up against the home crowd hero.
Oh, I mean, it's just such a crazy matchup. Petraeus is just kind of shot up out of nowhere, well, relatively, and he's kind of like destroying everyone. He was the only player to go through the round of 16 without dropping a map, 4-0, but going up against MaNa, here, he's the player who always digs deep when he needs to. He's a player who knows how to get through these crucial moments.
And there will be a lot of support for this man on screen right now as we get into game number 1 in this best of 5 for the World Championship Series Season 3 Finals. And we know who the crowd is behind. This is going to be a good one. Protoss versus Zerg, the final quarterfinal here. So we have Coda loading up and getting good to go. Spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg. All the way from New Zealand, it is Petraeus. And then up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Protoss representing Team Liquid. It is MaNa.
Such a huge fan favorite. MaNa getting so much support here, but he does have his work cut out for him. Petraeus has been showing amazing form, going under the radar a bit, but suddenly being one of these guys who is almost a favorite for that finals.
Yeah, that's the big scary thing about Petraeus here, is that with his current form, with the people that have advanced on, especially if you look at the 3 people that have already advanced on in the quarterfinals, Petraeus, being the dark horse that he is, but so talented, has the potential to go all the way. That's the big point about Petraeus that we're seeing. But of course, MaNa will be fueled by the crowd, will be fueled by the location that he is in. And already, we do see the hatchery going to go down here for Petraeus.
Petraeus playing really safe. He's already gone for that drone scout, and he's doing a little bit of harassment up in MaNa's base, trying to run around and nibble on these probes.
Stolen.
Steal the minerals, taking a bit of cash home with him to show the family. I mean, this is a situation where you can see Petraeus already going into this. He feels like, all right, I know MaNa likes to do some cannon rushes.
Yeah.
Going to scout very early. Seeing that gateway, just going to play very safe and drop his own spawning pool after a hatchery.
Likewise, MaNa going to be going into his own Nexus here. As he already sent his, he sent his probe over there. He was having a look around. He knows exactly what's going on the other side of the map. Us as Overlord will get full confirmation as what's going on after the drone moseyed on somewhere. Where did it go? Did it go home? I think it did.
The drone is, yeah.
He disappeared. Yeah, there he is. Hey, he brought the minerals back.
He finally came home.
Good job, mate.
And an interesting adjustment here from Petraeus to what we saw in his previous games, going for a very fast gas. Looks like he really wants to go for that fast Zergling speed, take no chances. You can already see the mental effect of having to go up against a player like MaNa. I mean, MaNa is so well known for his aggression.
Yeah.
He loves to mix things up, throw out these different types of attacks that the Zerg is very hard to anticipate. And MaNa's real goal here is to disrupt Petraeus. As the guys on the desk were saying, he's got to get in there and disrupt Petraeus, because when Petraeus gets to that late game, oh, it is almost impossible to take him out.
He's not only a dark horse, he is a fast one. If you allow him to gather momentum behind the fog of war, behind that shroud, you are going to have a very, very difficult time of ever slowing him down. But MaNa here knows that. Already probe on the map. He's going to be trying to poke in to see if there was a third base coming anytime soon. But Lings are on the way across the map here with speed being started. Getting his queens out here as Petraeus as well. Slowly getting the cogs in that machine working. Oh, nice.
Oh, very cute.
Very well timed.
This is already a slightly delayed third for Petraeus, but coming in with this cute timing, no Zerglings anywhere on his side of the map, and MaNa's going to delay that third base, even putting down the pylon. What a sick delay there for MaNa.
Already showcasing very, very good awareness of timings there is MaNa, as these two going to get clipped. Oh, he got himself the probe. Good move for Petraeus. Probe for 2 Lings. That's certainly a nice trade.
MaNa already gaining some momentum with this cute little maneuver, delaying that third base for a good 40 seconds. That's actually a long time. Does really disrupt Petraeus' build. Petraeus on the other side of things looks like he just wants to get things going. He's got his Zergling speed on the way, sending a few Zerglings out, wants to just look around the map and get that drone count up, but he's got to catch this probe.
Yeah. Petraeus was still 3 in gas, just accounting for any techs he's going to need pretty soon. Of course, MaNa, he's a tricky guy, can be a tricky guy. Needs to make sure he has that gas available into his Petraeus, just in case you would need the layer to come along and things like that. But MaNa behind all of this, going for the Forge. Not really too much out of the ordinary here on MaNa's side of things, I think.
I think this is fantastic. You can see MaNa, knowing that Petraeus going into this, he's going to expect what we expected, early aggression.
Yes.
He's going to expect MaNa to get in his face. But so far, it looks like MaNa is setting up for a very typical third base build. He's going to be going for sentries into Stalkers in a third Nexus. And Petraeus here, look at him. He's so keen to see what's going on. He's worried about the potential attack, and he doesn't have the information to rule it out just yet.
Definitely. He's already seen the Forge behind all of this, and usually that's a good indicator. A Forge that late on in this setup is a good indicator of the third base. That's why we're seeing the Ling positioned over there for Petraeus. He knows and understands that as well, and especially with the Mothership Core coming to clear out this location, it's almost a guarantee.
But without seeing him going for that third Petraeus, starting up Burrow, interestingly enough, and, you know, trying to drone up. But MaNa, look at the efficiency here. Already pushing out to take this third base, getting lots of sentries to gather up that energy. This is a fantastic build-up. And he could do a lot of different 3-base attacks off this. A lot of Blinkstalker play would be the most common way to do this. But already just being very uninterrupted and subtly messing with Petraeus earlier with that delay, it's looking very good for MaNa.
Just mosey on back for now. He knows that third base is going to be going down over there, but drones for Petraeus off the back of all of this, with the Evolution Chamber now coming in. He's going to try and scout out, though, have a look around with his hallucinated Phoenix, gauge exactly where his opponent is currently in this game, and seeing that the Evolution Chamber is only just now going down, he's going to feel, you know, okay with the upgrade situation.
Ooh, looks like MaNa wants to come out and do a pressure on the map. Petraeus is going to spot this now, and that's got to give him a bit of worry. He is building Roaches and Burrow, though, so he will be very well able to repel this. Of course, if those sentries throw down force fields, he can just burrow underneath them and completely ignore them.
Heading into the first person of MaNa now, as we already see that Twilight Council being thrown down. He is encroaching on creep here, is MaNa, and he sees this small Roach force pushing him away. So he's going to have to throw in some force fields and eventually get on out of here. Those Roaches are quite annoying. He's separating them up, though. Good micro. Able to save that sentry at the back. Very well done. But the burrow comes out, and MaNa's going to have to recall away.
Oh, accidentally does leave a sentry and a zealot, but those Roaches, oh, with Roach speed finishing, they will be able to get it. Fantastic focus fire from Petraeus. He already killed one of the sentries, forced the recall out, and it looks like he will catch another one.
Look at MaNa playing faster than I've really ever seen him play. He's being fueled here by his position, by where he is playing in Krakow, Poland. And we do have now Blink and +2 started. So going into a very, very usual game that we're expecting out of a lot of these European Protosses. The Lings and Roaches going to try and put on some pressure, but it is difficult usually to break these locations. Good force field denies the run-in.
MaNa's been delaying Petraeus a little bit, but this is now a scary force here. It's just posturing. I don't think it's enough to break in. I think Petraeus is just looking to scout out, see what's going on, look at this third base, see if there's any weaknesses. But for the moment, he's just probing around. Look at this, setting up his units in different positions. He wants to grab anything that's exposed, but otherwise just look at MaNa's position and try to see what units he's building up.
Little pokes and prods here and there here from Petraeus. Can't really get too much done up during all of this, but the big question is behind this. Pathogen glands on the way, Infestor's about to pop, Hive just been spotted here. What does all this mean for MaNa? What does he have to do to really deal with this kind of position?
You know, there's a few different ways MaNa could play this, but you've got to be worried about that Hive. That means he's heading towards Ultralisks and Broodlords. We already see the melee and carapace upgrades down there. We see Infestors in the production tab. That's the stage of the game. We've all been saying Petraeus has just shown stellar play. Once he gets there, he's incredibly hard to fight. It can be done, but the other alternative is for MaNa to do a big push before that Hive tech hits and try to take him out then.
That's the question I was going to ask. Has MaNa at the moment done enough to disrupt this kind of pace here from Petraeus?
Well, the timing window is getting closer and closer to being closed, and it doesn't look like MaNa wants to be aggressive. It looks like he actually wants to take on Petraeus in the slow game.
Okay.
This is fascinating. This is very different to what we expected. This is a really ballsy move, but it just shows MaNa is confident. He's adding Storm. He's adding Immortals to take on the Ultralisk. Storm to deal with the Zerglings, and he can either do a big push with this, aiming to focus fire the Ultras, or he could maybe even go towards the Tempest late game style.
Yeah, that's something that, you know, is we have to give credit to MaNa for as well, is that he does have an extremely well-rounded game as well. I mean, he's been around forever. You have to have a well-rounded game if that's going to be the case. So as much as he does like those early aggressive moves, he can also hold his own in the later stages.
Petraeus getting into his comfort zone here. He is adding on Adrenal Glands. Those melee and carapace upgrades continuing, and 2 Vipers in the production tab. This is what Petraeus is famous for. This is what Protoss players all around the world fear when they play Petraeus. If he can land the Fungals and Blinding Clouds and Defiance on top of each other, it stops all the ranged Protoss units from attacking, locks them in place, and an entire Protoss army, no matter how good quality it is, can suddenly become worthless. That's exactly what Petraeus is going to be aiming for with this composition.
Yeah, definitely. We see a lot of heavy Blink Stalker compositions for Protoss, and if you're Fungled as Stalkers, you can't blink away. So being stuck in those Blinding Clouds and all that damage going onto you whilst you're doing 0 is a big deal here. So MaNa's definitely got to be careful, and very few people execute it quite like Petraeus does. Press on.
Looks like Petraeus wants to try and trade off some of these low-tier units he has, get some damage done, and he does spot the massives, the big high-tech army. He sees the Immortals, he sees the High Templar, and this kind of tells Petraeus, like, oh, you're actually willing to push this game a bit later on. So right now, Petraeus wants to delay the 4th base of MaNa, and MaNa, he wants to just keep adding to this army, getting it bigger and bigger, lots of high-tech units, but he wants to secure a 4th base, because he needs a lot of gas to keep this army going.
And looking to deny that here is Petraeus, always positioning himself in a very aggressive manner across this right-hand side to try and slow that down. Some of these lanes are going to be sacrificed almost for nothing, because he needs to be able to open up the taps a little bit. Good denial from MaNa to push away that force, and now he can finally open up that 4th location.
Very well played by MaNa. Petraeus behind this, being patient as ever. And this is the point of the game where Petraeus' patience kicks in. He will not go YOLO off creep attack into a choke point. He's all about looking for the fight. Notice how he's so focused on his creep spread all over the map. He wants to have that everywhere, and he's going to wait for the perfect engagement where he can land those spells just right. That's what Petraeus is going to be looking for. He's even dropping a double Spire behind it to get those air upgrades.
And those 2 Colossi dicing with death against Zerglings alone, but there's plenty of units to be able to reinforce, and the Zerglings will have to back on for now.
MaNa going up to 4 Colossi, going to really make short work of any Zerglings on the ground.
He's rounding out his composition really nicely as MaNa, but at the same time, the Lynx try and go for the counter again. Can't really find anything to do there. Roaches on this right-hand side get themselves a Stalker or 2, but that's about it right now. But
they're not very useful at this point of the game. Petraeus wants to get rid of those Roaches, so he had to trade those off there. Looks like both players are just trying to sit back.
I was going to say, the 3rd Spire going down there, Petraeus just kind of on autopilot a little bit there. I was wondering if he was going to start double upgrades and then wait for the Greater Spire to come along and do something crazy, but that would have been a bit too crazy.
Yeah, a little bit out there, a little bit next level strategies there, but this is the scary moment. This army is so insane. MaNa has to watch out. The Blinding Cloud Fungal lands.
Yeah, that's a big deal for him. He's going to try and lock a lot of feedbacks on towards that army, but has to recall on out of there. There's no way he's able to stick around. this heavy, heavy energy-based army with those Ultralisks as the wall is very difficult for MaNa to break at the moment.
That is just so hard to engage against. That's where Petraeus' strength lies. He landed those spells just right on top of those units. Absolutely neutralized their ability to fight, and we saw how quickly MaNa lost about half of his army there. MaNa has to lock it down, he has to rebuild now, and after seeing that Ultralisk count, he is chrono boosting Immortals as hard as he can, trying to get out those anti-armored units.
And also looking to transition to onto his Stargate here is MaNa, so he's looking for higher tech himself. This, if MaNa had his way with the direction he's taking at the moment, it would be very, very delayed game, to the point where he could try and get up to a very strong armada of air units, but will Petraeus give him that luxury?
Oh, Petraeus is so patient in these situations that maybe he will, but look at the creep spread. If this gets any further, Petraeus will be able to attack into MaNa's base on creep, and that is just so scary for our Protoss player. MaNa here has to try and work on this army, and he needs to find this perfect defensive engagement, and he somehow needs to neutralize these spellcasters of Petraeus.
Very, very difficult. Would love to get some flanks with High Templars and try and get feedbacks, but that's very difficult, of course, because there is so much vision here for our Zerg. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner, how much of the mini-map is purple. Very difficult for the Protoss to orchestrate the exact engagement he wants, but still more Stargates on the way. Fleet Beacon going down, air weapons going down, but again, look at where Petraeus' army is. It is poising up here for an attack on a potentially inferior army.
Oh, Petraeus, look at this. He's got creep down
dividing.
here. He can control the space between the 4th and 3rd base, and he's going to split off some Ultralisks. This is so hard. How does MaNa defend this without attacking into the trap?
Yeah, this is difficult here for him. Very difficult indeed, because if he does go down there, he's going to get shredded up by Ultralisks, with them being locked down as well by Fungals, and he just sends a lot of infested Terrans up there. Not even dedicating that many Ultralisks, he's also got a really strong back. So MaNa, at the moment, is caught between a rock and a hard place.
Oh, a beautiful maneuver from Petraeus, just patiently not headbutting into the army, not going up into the 4th with all of his units, just holding this area, and he wants to take the fight!
Gets a good lockdown there. A few of the infestors do actually die off on that right-hand side there to the Colossi, but that's a lot of Ultralisks coming in. Some of them are actually choked up behind these Queens there, and they're going to take a lot of damage to those storms, but the Blinding Clouds have been able to conduct a lot of that, push that back there, and even though the Ultralisks were caught for a little bit, there you go, GG! Game number 1 goes to Petraeus. And that was a very, very strong showing here from a guy that at the moment, looking at his form, could go a long, long way.
Absolute calm in the face of pressure. Petraeus just played that so damn well. This player is impressing us more and more with every single game. Petraeus has been on the rise for such a long time, but you can see he just seems to know exactly what he's doing against Protoss players.
Yeah, he does. I mean, forcing his opponent to come out to him, with even being able to take that 3rd to 4th base location, very, very difficult there for MaNa to deal with. And, you know, if there was that section where we throw it over to the experts now, if that were to be a thing, they may say, well, MaNa's got to do more stuff earlier, one would say, here in these games against his opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe he can go towards this late game, but you could see that Petraeus just seems so comfortable there. It seems to play to Petraeus' strengths, and MaNa tried it, but I think the key moment in that game was that first engagement he wasn't quite ready for, where Petraeus landed the Fungal Blinding Cloud combo, and he just did huge damage. I think if MaNa goes into that with the same plan a second time around, just executes it a bit crisper, gets his army up a little bit larger, I think he can definitely take Petraeus in that late game, but it's going to be a big task.
That is true. It was the perfect window to hit again for Petraeus. I mean, there was tons of investment into those Stargates. They never got the momentum there for MaNa, so if he'd been able to delay that, it would have been nice. But our second map here, Pig, is going to be Dash and Terminal, a map that we don't see too much, and certainly one that can throw out a lot of surprises.
Yes, it's going to be a tough one for MaNa. This is Petraeus' map pick. There's a lot of attack routes into your natural expansion. We've seen Petraeus, he loves to take the gold base on this map, and either off that or a normal opening, he loves to attack from many directions with a lot of Zerglings. He loves to keep the Protoss back. MaNa's going to need to bring a really special game plan onto Dash and Terminal.
Yes, he is. All right, well, we are loading up now onto the second map here, live from Krakow, Poland, as we have the Polish crowd behind their fan favorite. But this man on screen is a menace, one of the strongest players here in the World Championship Series, as we now get into game number 2 between MaNa and Petraeus to find out who's moving on as our last player into the round of 4. Spawning up to the north, we have our blue Zerg. Representing New Zealand, it is Petraeus. And then, of course, over to the east, we have our red Protoss. Representing Team Liquid, it is MaNa.
You know, the more I think about that last game, the more I like MaNa's plan going into it. He chose Coda as the first map and doing exactly what Petraeus wouldn't have expected, going for that late game style on a map where you really can kind of split the map off and use choke points and defend with your army. But it didn't quite go the way he wanted. And I think here on this map, MaNa's going to go back to what's his more typical style. I think something like some DTs, some sort of aggressive pressure. He loves to do Oracle plus Zealot pressures. These sort of attacks are all going to serve MaNa a lot better on this map.
And already, Petraeus is scouting for proxies. So making sure that MaNa's not doing anything too crazy. And we'll go back to his natural location. I felt that he may have gone up towards top left to actually try to take that base, but not to be. It's just going to be the normal location after making sure he is safe.
Most likely wanting to go for a 3 hatchery before pool here is Petraeus. Of course, the reason Zerg players love this map so much is his Overlord is already in MaNa's base. You can see the gateway's down, he sees no gases, he's like, oh, okay, you're going to be going for a Nexus after this gate. I can sit there and check that you're not going to drop a Forge. And we can already see Petraeus going for the fast economy build, his drone heading to the third base for that fast third hatchery. And this is going to be a great opening for Petraeus, and MaNa's going to have to play it just from slightly behind here.
Very, very strong opener indeed, and especially after, you know, in game number 1 even, MaNa, you know, got a little bit delay on that. Technically the probe was over the other side and could have tried to delay that third for a little bit, but that is not to be. That's not how it was. Drone was able to sneak out nice and easy. So he goes come back here and see this timing of the spawning pool, and overall MaNa's seen everything, but there's not much he can do about that triple hatch opener.
Interestingly, Petraeus goes and drops a gas in his main base really early, right in the face of that probe. And that may be a tricky one. It may be a fake gas. We see the probe from MaNa kind of going around, making sure there's nothing sneaky, checking all the bases. But what's very important is Petraeus actually going to mine from a gas this early? And it looks like he is. So Petraeus, we talked about it at the start of the game, he loves the fast Zergling speed, because on the natural of MaNa, if we take a look there, there's a back entrance where you can try to sneak Zerglings in. A pylon can wall it off, but they can nibble away at it very quickly. That combined with the wall at the front, it makes it very hard for Protoss players to move out, to secure their third, and sometimes even a flood of Zerglings is something Petraeus likes to do.
Very fast robo going down at the front here for MaNa to start things off in this game, which can be telling in some of these games against Zergs.
The crowd is just all on MaNa's side right now. There's so much home crowd support. And this is such an important game. The fast robo, he's going to do something aggressive off that. He has to do something aggressive, and it just makes perfect sense. This is Petraeus' map pick. Petraeus is such a monster here in this tournament, and MaNa's going to need to pull something clever out to take advantage of him.
It's almost too obvious, though, right? It's the way it's thrown down right here. It's instantaneously spotted. We'll see now.
And this, well, I guess this is where MaNa's going to have a special plan, because this robo is insanely fast. This is like the speed that Hitman would put it down before pumping out a couple of Immortals, pulling off gas completely and only building Zealots. It's incredibly fast, and simply the presence of it has got to put doubt in Petraeus' mind. Petraeus, seeing this, has got to think, well, you could run a Warp Prism across the map, warp in off 5 or 6 or 7 gateways, and just try to kill me. So, okay, I'll need units for that, but what if you just take your gases and you go for like lots of sentries and then push with later Immortal push? And Petraeus has got to be thinking in his head, like, what sort of aggression is this? You can see his Zergling looking around. He really wants to see what's going to pop out. Is that going to be a Warp Prism? And you see he's already reacting with a very fast Roach Warren, trying to be safe against this.
And Petraeus does have the mind to be able to suss these things out, that's for sure. Like, when you see his gameplay, it's very calculated, very, very intelligent moves Petraeus makes. I mean, even just something as simple in game number 1 as forcing those engagements from his opponent was something that was, you know, sheer brilliance. He knew he didn't necessarily have to be the aggressor.
Absolutely, Petraeus is so good at picking up on what a Protoss wants to do, but MaNa coming in with the Warp Prism. Wants to block off that ramp and warp in some units into the main base, but these Zerglings from Petraeus are on point. Petraeus covering all his bases, not leaving himself exposed at all. However, This was not some big all-in pressure from MaNa. Behind this, he's adding probes, he's adding immortals. He just wants to distract Petraeus and force him to build these units.
Yeah.
Force him to build less drones. We can see, look at the production tab. Petraeus is already building 10 roaches off a very small economy.
And trying to catch up a little bit here, getting some of those drones on out now here as quickly as possible. But Immortal is already rallied over, just 2 Immortals alone, and he's going to be reinforcing with a lot of gateways that have already been thrown down here for MaNa. This was always going to be his plan after that Robo had gone down this early. The usual go-to, and do these roaches, they're actually moving across. He now sees this force moving away.
Oh my god, you know, Petraeus has a lot of units out anticipating this sort of aggression. Oh, again, these roaches catch the sentries.
And he's going to have to shepherd those Immortals out if he's not careful at the moment. This is a big surround. He actually tries to pick up the sentries here to keep them alive. Not too bad a move there. Picks up one as the Lings were getting on top of it. Very, very good stuff, and also making sure that his Immortals are getting ample damage done whilst moving back. This was a really good defensive posture from MaNa in the midfield.
Wow, that took amazing pressure, handling of that under pressure. Somehow kept all the sentries alive, kept his Immortals completely undamaged, and continues to whittle away Petraeus' force.
But all the while, whilst this is going on, is that Petraeus knows that keeping this fight away from his bases is allowing him freedom to get more and more units ready for when this push comes.
Oh yeah, Petraeus has managed to squeeze ahead in the worker count a good bit, and now he's producing only roaches and zerglings. They are massing out in huge numbers.
It's like a shark trying to surround his prey here in the middle of the field. As these Immortals, they don't really have any more sentry energy left available to keep them alive here. He's picking up all of the sentries. He needs to pick up that Immortal though. He tries to mount it. And he will be able to pick up that Immortal, keeping it alive just barely, with just a little slither of health left. He keeps it alive, trying to make sure he's not going to die. Petraeus is going to have to fall back.
This micro from MaNa was incredible. Just in the last second, he saves that. And Petraeus has lost so many units, but he is continuing to mass out these roaches, these zerglings, and most of the force fields are gone. MaNa still needs to hit. He needs to hit fast, but he's got to break in the next minute. If he can't get in there, Petraeus is just going to overwhelm.
Still baiting out some of those force fields here, and that's a lot of Zealots at the front, but will he be able to hold things off? It can hold off in that choke up towards the top for sure. Whilst he tries to conquer the roaches towards the back, Petraeus is still trying to buy time. Catches himself a few of those units. The Zealot tanking the Zerglings up towards the top. With those Queens reinforcing, they don't have energy for transfuses though. So any little bit of damage he takes on those roaches is going to hurt.
Oh, MaNa is doing this so well. He's even starting a 4th gas behind this, showing that he doesn't necessarily want to just go all in right now. He's saying, if I can get more sentries behind this, more stalkers, I can keep this going.
Oh, and he could get onto the Roach Warren here. That's a big, big point of contention. The drones have come off the line here for Petraeus. He knows he wants to try and continue to hold on to this location. If he's able to take down the Immortals, that would be fantastic for him. The majority of the Zealots have died off at the front, but here come more Warpins. Petraeus at the moment, 60 army supply against 43. MaNa still holding on.
This is incredible play from MaNa. He's outnumbered so much. Petraeus is massing a huge number of roaches, but he continues to hang on with this army. He's continuing to keep his important units alive, those Immortals and Sentries, but roach speed has just kicked in. Petraeus has an amazing army right now. This is going to be so difficult. MaNa is going to need incredible control to stop this swarm of Zerg.
Constantly circling him around. It's not like there's a mothership core with this. He can't recall out, but there is no really second. He's actually trying to go for the second game plan of the Robo Bay behind this. MaNa realizes that this is just not going to work with the amount of time that Petraeus bought in the middle of the map. It was fantastically done, but once again, trying to come in from every single side here with those roaches coming from the top. There's not that many force fields left over. Guardian Shield's been popped up. He's getting pressed up against this watchtower. This is a dead end here for MaNa. If he is not careful, he's going to get stuck in here. Oh no, this is a disaster. Pinned up against the wall. Tries to pick up the Immortals, get those out. Have to get them to the high ground to do as much damage as possible.
Oh, you can't leave, says Petraeus. MaNa going for the tactical retreat, but he is cut off. Petraeus' killer instincts getting right on top of him just before he could get out of there and shutting down all of those sentries and stalkers.
Retreating out here is MaNa with his tail between his legs. He has 2 more Immortals to try and help him out, but the Robo Bay has just finished up. He only really has these Immortals. One on the other side. Good pick up there from the Warp Prism. Saves them. Now he has to deal with the pressure here from Petraeus. It's going to be difficult with the Roaches and Lings trying to circle this position.
Petraeus has stayed so calm throughout this all, attacking from 3 sides and about to focus down the robotics. Oh my god! No Colossus production for you, and the Hydroden's already on the way behind this. Petraeus is knocking on the door from all sides, and MaNa is going to need to do a desperate hold to hang on. This is like a 300 situation. He needs some Spartan micro right now.
A 300 situation with 3 choke points to actually defend against at this point. The Zerg is encroaching on Protoss territory. So we have MaNa now trying to do some counter-aggression himself, getting on towards those queens. This force has pushed away the roaches up towards the top, but the Lings are going to try and circle him from the back on towards that expansion. And actually, oh, a good warp in there from MaNa to be able to make sure those Lings don't get into the main and disrupt things more.
Zergling Prison locked in, does shut those down, but MaNa does lose the Zealots in the main base, and that removes his ability to pull Petraeus' attention back home. Those queens defending so well, and Petraeus wants to keep on pushing. He's already adding Hydralisks with the Hydra range upgrade, and losing that Robo for MaNa. I mean, if he had Colossus out by now, that would be so good, but without that and being hemmed in on 2 bases, this is so difficult.
The orchestration of Petraeus' games are just... He reads the situation so well. Going back to the beginning of those fights, the time that he bought for those Immortals to always be dancing around in the middle of the map with those sentries, baiting out the force fields over and over and over. And now MaNa going to plan B. How well is it going to work on out here? As he's killing off a lot of the roaches at the front, he's got to be so cost efficient with these forces, but the Lings try and get in. Another great warp in from MaNa on the ramp there to make sure that those Lings going for the counter while he's being attacked on 2 other angles are going to be shut down.
Oh, trapping the Hydras on the bridge and shutting those down. Great control out of MaNa, but he is losing sentries, he's losing a few probes. This is an amazing hold, though. Closing that supply gap, all of the roaches just disappeared.
Really impressive stuff, but Petraeus is still transitioning on. He keeps throwing problem after problem here at MaNa, but MaNa holds on. He's got 5 Immortals at the moment. Not that much sentry energy, I don't think, across only the 3 sentries that he has available to him. Just a little bit, but still, he needs to now go towards a 3rd base here, whilst Petraeus transitioning to the Spire can be a nightmare to deal with with just Robotech here.
Oh, does do a nice surround on that queen, but there's so many more queens here for Petraeus, and Petraeus absorbing these Zealots like they're nothing. He's so on point. MaNa, he wants to buy time. He's coming out. He's going to try and clear some creep and then back away tactically. But Petraeus, once again, is going to try and trap him on the map. He wants to surround this army.
Still no Mothership Core. If he did get surrounded, it would be a disaster. But the Lings are actually just going to go for the counterattack. The Zealot is there to deny that from continuing on. We're going into the mineral line there of the natural. The 3rd base is not completed here yet. So any probe here that Petraeus can get is fantastic.
Oh, he's killing so many of them. 6 probes already going down. The Zealot's a little bit late to the party. MaNa focused on pushing at the same time, but he's taking irreparable probe damage behind us. 18 probes have gone down. He has to kill with this move.
He's going for 109 army supply against 73. What can he do? He's actually dividing off a lot of their army to that left-hand side there and being able to conquer the part up towards the top with those Immortals firing against all of that. Hydra's coming in from the background. They're focusing the Warp Prism. They're going to be able to take that down. This is the only force here that MaNa has. GG. Game number 2 goes to Petraeus. And every single step of the way, Petraeus not only has the answer, but keeps throwing the puzzles at MaNa.
Not even a glimmer of emotion. Petraeus just staying calm, cool, and collected throughout. He is just so on point. And his Zerg versus Protoss is looking so incredible. Throughout this entire tournament, he's just looking unstoppable.
He's looking extremely powerful here. And now home crowd hero is going to have to try and pull this back. But at the same time, you've got to give a tip of the hat, really, to Petraeus in the way he's been able to orchestrate these games. From game number 1, his strong, fantastic late game presence, to then game number 2, knowing the exact reactions that he needs against the aggression from MaNa. Where does MaNa go?
This is such a hard position to be in. As a player in MaNa's shoes right now, he has to be feeling a lot of pressure and just digging into his mind and calming himself down and thinking, what do I pull out? Game 1 didn't go my way. Game 2 was so close, but Petraeus just seemed to know exactly what to do in that situation. He held off the initial Warp Prism very perfectly and somehow squeezed out just the right number of drones before massing roaches and always coming in from multiple sides, always minimizing the usefulness of those force fields. As MaNa, you've got to pull another build out of your hat. And after the last game being so much closer than the first one, you've got to say, let's do some aggression. Let's pull something a little bit special out once more.
And Petraeus, looking at his games in the past group stages here at the moment, he has the opportunity to go all the way. If he wins this series, looking at his power, his presence here, and to say he's in this transitionary period of his career as well is just absolutely astounding. And our next map will be Cactus Valley here, Pig.
Oh yeah, I mean Petraeus playing here on Cactus, he's got to be okay with it. It's a big map, but MaNa as well. There's a lot of places to hide pylons, there's a lot of places to proxy, and there's some nice choke points for you to use force fields, especially around out front, the natural bases of each player. There's these really narrow areas where if you do a fast push, something like what he did last game, or any sort of stalker push, anything with a lot of sentries, you can really split the Zerg apart. So this is a map which I think MaNa is going to be very happy with. It is back onto his pick. Petraeus is going to have to be on the ball.
Yes, he is, because MaNa will throw out the wild cards here as we get into game number 3 between Petraeus and MaNa. We do have spawning up to the top right-hand corner here as our blue Zerg representing New Zealand. It is Petraeus. Looking so powerful right now.
Absolutely indomitable.
And over to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Protoss. It might be his last chance here, representing Team Liquid. It is MaNa.
MaNa's fought his way here, tooth and nail at every step of the way. Has been a challenge, but he has always risen to it. And now, down 2 games against Petraeus, this is where he needs to dig deepest of all. And he needs to make it work. Going for an 11 gate down here on the low ground, the option of a very fast Zealot is going to be a really nice way for MaNa to open up with fast pressure. Yeah. However, looks like Petraeus' Overlord is going to see it very early on.
Yeah, I mean, especially with how the previous games have played out here, with the drones taking, triple bases, hatches before pull, but this is very unfortunate for MaNa that the Overlord is coming in this direction, and this is how the spawning positions have worked out.
Absolutely, we can already see that Petraeus is actually a little bit worried about a cannon rush, bringing an extra drone down to his natural expansion. He's scouting every corner, but now that the Overlord saw the gateway, he can realize, oh, I don't really need to be worried about that anymore. The drone can casually walk back in the base, and every little bit of pressure that's alleviated off Petraeus makes it easier for him to progress a little bit further.
Yeah, just continue on his usual path. As we have that spawning pool being thrown down here for Petraeus. MaNa spotted it. So he knows what he's playing against. He knows his opponent's positioning as well, all importantly. That was already revealed by this Overlord, of course.
Once again, Petraeus is going to opt for a fast gas play here, wanting to make sure he has all of the tools necessary to defend any aggression out of MaNa. MaNa, on the other side of things, looks like he wants to once again get this probe, maybe hide that a little bit, and then try to deny the third, but already building 2 Zealots. And this Zealot coming across, it is going to get in there before the spawning pool is finished. And with the second Zealot as well, this is going to put on very heavy pressure. This is a tempo move from MaNa. He says, yeah, I lost the last 2 games, I'm down 2. Right now is where I want to put the pressure on you, and I want to make you react to me. Yep. And he's going to get in there, he's going to micro his butt off, and he's going to try and kill a bunch of drones.
It's time for the disruption game here from MaNa to really start up very, very early on. Drones are already microing against this. He needs to make sure it doesn't get surrounded completely here by the drones. Already being damaged a little bit, but he bought time for the Zerglings to come out. Second Zealot's on the way, though, and keeping the first one alive for the second one to come along. He's forcing a lot of Zerglings here from Petraeus.
This is a really nice move out of MaNa. Behind this, he's just macroing on up, and he's forced a lot of Zerglings out. And with this, the Zealots are backing off. They're not forcing their way in on creep. He wants to make sure he's forced a big enough reaction, and then just get in a corner, make sure they can't be surrounded, and try to get them back across the map to home.
Zerglings gonna separate themselves up here. Some are going to go on home. Some are going to go across the map.
Oh, that's such a beautiful split from Petraeus. Like, he never lets himself get put on the back foot. Already, he's putting the pressure back on MaNa, forcing this extra Zealot out. MaNa doesn't want to have to build that right now. No. And even forcing this pylon down and getting the probe, this is just sick play from Petraeus. He never gives MaNa any breathing room in these games.
And really turning it around there. Now speed is on the way for Petraeus. And MaNa, at the same time, what is he going to go? He's going to go to the Stargate here. All right, as his choice. And it's down towards the bottom, so very far away. This is not going to be scouted. I think there's an Overlord maybe on the trajectory, but Not even. There's no way that's going to get there in time before anything's going to go.
MaNa is feeling it right now. He's feeling that if he can keep the pressure on Petraeus and ramp it up another notch, Petraeus won't have the perfect answer every time. He's already done this zealot pressure. He's slowed down Petraeus' third by a long time, and he's done this great damage. Now proxying a Stargate to follow it up. This is a really cool move where he's saying, look, I'm already distracting you. I'm going to hit you with a faster Oracle than is possible, and I'm going to keep hitting you with these surprise waves. It's going to make it so hard for you to see what's coming, so hard for you to be prepared. And if he can upset Petraeus' game, that is where the secret for MaNa's success lies.
Yeah. You've hit the nail on the head, and we said it at the beginning as well. Slow Petraeus down. Try and find damage. Here comes the Oracle. It's in production, so that will be flying on up soon here. And usually you would see the Zerg trying to scout that out in the main base. This Oracle, this Overlord right now is technically looking for that Stargate, but it is very, very far from where it actually is.
Absolutely. I mean, the Stalker, rather than a sentry being out, does hint towards something, and the other Overlord poked in at the same time. Saw actually just the probes, I believe, starting to mine, or maybe even missed it on the other gas geyser, but he doesn't see the Forge. So right now, Petraeus has got to be scratching his head saying, what could possibly be coming my way? And the Oracle's already coming in. He's dropped spores, but they're not ready yet.
Yeah, and going to have to go on towards these drones already. Good pickups for MaNa to start things off. And as he wants to bring down as many of these as possible, he's already ahead in the work account, technically. But there's a big wave of drones on the way to try and replenish that, and he manages to save the Oracle. Good stuff.
Oh, 6 workers killed when he's already slowed Petraeus' economy down. That is fantastic for MaNa. MaNa taking a good win there, forcing out the spores as well, and even a second Oracle coming in. Look at this, no drones mining on that third. MaNa is keeping Petraeus pinned down here.
The Zerglings realize where the Stargate is, though, as this is going to fly in towards that Spore Crawler there, take some damage, and now he has found it, so at least he can shut that down from producing any more Oracles, but 2 is still annoying. 2 is still to the point where they'll try and do some damage here and there, wherever they can, as soon as they regen shields.
Petraeus here, staying on a very low drone count and already starting roach production. He wants to play very safe. His Zergling does spot MaNa moving down to take the third base, and that does seem to be MaNa's plan right now. Let's take a third base, let's kind of progress forward. He's added his second and third gate back home. He's got it +1 on the way, and he's adding a Twilight Council. Looks like MaNa wants to go for that 3-base blink play.
Do you think getting 7 workers here with these 2 Oracles is enough to offset any slight advantages Petraeus has in economy, or how does this play out right now?
I think that's actually well worth it, because not only that, but he's forced 3 Spore Crawlers. He wasted some mining time as well, and he really slowed down Petraeus at a crucial point. Petraeus was already slowed down, so he didn't have a big enough economy to absorb that. You know, if these Oracles hit later when Petraeus already had 60 drones, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But as it was, we can see Petraeus is a bit slowed down. He doesn't really have that tech to where he'd want it to be.
And now we're seeing Petraeus getting the full machine in swing. The infestation pit is going down. And these Oracles would ideally like to be able to swing around and be able to spot that. That would be a very good use of them at this point.
It really would. And interestingly enough, speaking of pressure, back home, we see a lot of gateways going down from MaNa and no probe production. Oh, he's starting up a couple of probes now.
Oh, he saw it.
Thought he might want to do a sneaky blink timing there.
Saw the infestation pit. He now knows he might be up against the clock here for a moment in terms of his opponent's movement towards that hive, that usual kind of go-to expect that he would have.
Once again, no probes in production for MaNa. Looks like he wants to go for a big Blink Stalker Sentry attack. When that +2 in Blink finishes, he could definitely do a big amount of aggression. He is now adding a few more probes in there, but he's going to have the option to do this. And having spotted the infestation, spotting the upgrades out of Petraeus, he knows you're going for these Lings, these Infestors, these Roaches. And these units are great if they get the upgrades, if they get a big enough unit count together. But right now, they're not in that position. There is a timing MaNa could take advantage of, and we've seen what happens if he lets Petraeus get to the late game. So I think he really wants to push in soon, and he wants to put the hurt on Petraeus.
Total of 7 gates, with another 2 being added on at the moment. So 9 to warp in a ton of Stalkers. Here come the pylons down towards the middle. And, you know, Petraeus' creep spread is okay, but it's not enough to be able to impede the progression of this army very, very strongly.
Look at this, 2 Oracles as detectors, and they're also going to be Ling Destroyers. Think about how smart this timing is. Petraeus loves those upgraded Zerglings, but if you've got 2 Oracles above your army just on hold position, you're going to obliterate them. But he's got to watch out for these fungal growths.
Yeah, he does. At least he has the opportunity to recall out there if he actually does get locked down. Revelation's been thrown down onto the Infestors, so now he knows exactly where they are at any given time. He can stay out of range of them, but you're watching Petraeus open up all these rock locations so that he can get those swings around. Just kind of what we saw like on Dash and Terminal. Just delay the Protoss in the middle. Actually blinked forward there. Got himself an Infestor. Good move. Locks down a lot of that army onto the left-hand side. Throwing down force fields to try and curb those Zerglings from actually being able to get on top of him. Every single angle is trying to be exploited here by Petraeus, but it's not working. MaNa's doing well.
Oh, Petraeus almost took down the reinforcement pylon, but he did lose a lot of units there. Oh, this is a very scary push right now. MaNa going in. He's got a lot of sentry energy still, but he's got to have a reinforcement point to make this work. Petraeus coming in from behind is looking to shut it down.
Definitely hitting the right window when he can, as this army is not really that sufficient here. Forza blinks onto the walls, the Infestors towards the back. MaNa being able to pick up the very, very expensive units and denying the army on the right-hand side here from being able to push on towards those sentries. Trying to catch maybe some roaches here or there, but still Zerglings towards the back. Get onto some of those Stalkers.
Sick force fields from MaNa, just splitting Petraeus' army up. But there is a never-ending wave of reinforcements. Petraeus just does not stop. His macro is so good right now.
I think he got all the pylons as well, the reinforcing pylons, so he's having to warp in so far away from this. Fungal growths are going to be able to catch some of these Stalkers here. How many more roaches are going to be able to pile on out to deal with this? No follow-up on the extra Fungals though, so the Stalkers can get back and be able to keep themselves alive for a moment.
Oh, I mean, a lot more Stalkers come in, and MaNa can take an edge here, but this is so delayed. If that pylon was closer, MaNa would already have another wave here, and he does overwhelm Petraeus' army, but can he push in?
At the moment, 36 army supply against 58. We're seeing a lot in production here for Petraeus to try and get out of this. Remember, MaNa at the moment hasn't got to the economies, so at least though he does have a pylon to be able to reinforce. That's a great fungal though here for Petraeus. A second great fungal as well, locking down a lot of these units. He doesn't have any more though, so he can blink back a lot of this. There's not that much firepower in these roaches without more fungals to be able to lock these Stalkers down.
There is no sentries left, no oracles. It is just blink Stalkers versus roaches, lings, and infestors. Petraeus' army, with the help of those infestors, is being so efficient, but MaNa is just pushing in non-stop. He is not giving up yet.
And the reinforcing pylon been thrown down right next to all of this fighting. Still no fungal growth. The lings are going to evaporate under the firepower over these Stalkers as the Zealots move to the front as well to tank some of the damage. And Petraeus at the moment is the dips in an army supply advantage here against MaNa, blinking forward, gets onto the infestors, will kill off some of these queens. MaNa is looking to keep his hopes alive, gets him GG. MaNa takes game number 3 here in this best of 5 and keeps his hopes alive on towards the round of 4.
What a dogged and persistent push. MaNa just does not give up. He just kept on going. And look at that crowd.
We all know who the crowd's behind, but it is not over yet. Petraeus still has another 2 games here to seal it out, and, you know, with his play, he certainly has the chops to be able to do so. MaNa being able to bring that back, though, with that kind of aggressive push, being able to deceive Petraeus, but also being able to hit that small, crisp window that he did hit was very impressive there by the Protoss.
It was so well played. In that first game, he never really got much momentum. In that second one, it didn't quite work out for him either. But this third game, right at breaking point, is when MaNa dug deep and he said, I am going to put the pressure on you from the first moment. Let's get these Zealots in your face. Let's force you to micro. Let's throw you off. Let's follow it up with that proxied Stargate. And just surprising Petraeus over and over and getting in his face.
And our next map here for game number 4 will be Iron Fortress here, Pig. So talk us through this map from the matchup perspective.
This is a tough one for Protoss. Once again, we're back on Petraeus' pick. The bases are very far spread out, the third base especially, so it's very hard for Protoss to defend from big Zerg attacks. It's very hard for them to secure that. That being said, it does make it a little bit difficult for Zerg to defend their third base from early aggression as well. It's very hard to get creep spread out there. So this base, Petraeus is going to be worrying about 2-base aggression. MaNa, on the other hand, he has a lot of options open to him, but if he goes for a more standard economic play, it's going to be very difficult on Iron Fortress. It's definitely Zerg favored.
Let's see if MaNa can bring it to a 2-2 situation here and keep his hopes alive to move on forward. You've got to remember that MaNa is a championship caliber player. All the way back in years gone by, he has won Premier tournaments. Since then, not had as impressive results, but is looking to get his rise back on here in StarCraft 2 in season number 3 as we get on to game number 4 here between Petraeus and MaNa. Iron Fortress will be the battleground. We do have Spawned in the bottom left-hand corner will be our blue Zerg. Representing New Zealand, it is Petraeus. And then up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Protoss. Representing Team Liquid and Poland, it is MaNa.
MaNa has a monumental task ahead of him, but he's taken the first step on the road. He needs to win another 2 games in a row to seal this, to go through to the semifinals. And here on Iron Fortress, it's going to be potentially an even harder map than what we just saw on Cactus Valley. I mean, MaNa made it work, but those force fields and those nice choke points, that beautiful blink micro on Cactus Valley, it was a big factor in that. Here on Iron Fortress, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to rely on force fields. I think this map is one where you want to change up your playstyle a little bit, maybe go for something a little bit different in the composition.
The most exciting thing to me at the moment about Season 3 is the fact that not only can these two rival for the actual whole championship itself, whoever, but also we are guaranteed to have a new champion here in 2015. And that is just a fantastic position for all of these 5 players, with the winner obviously not being decided here yet, to actually go on forwards.
It really is. It's such a great opportunity, and
yeah,
it's something these players want so much. Even just playing on this stage is fantastic, but to hold that trophy, to stand up there, it's something that a player will never forget. And MaNa's been there before, and he wants to be there again.
Right, we do have Atcha being taken here, and the Overlord noticeably was not sent in the correct direction here for Petraeus this time on this 4-player map. So it does make his opponent a little bit harder to read here for Petraeus. But regardless, I mean, he has looked super strong in all of his decisions throughout the... I mean, even in that past game, you know, his defensive setup was good. It just wasn't enough whilst he was transitioning on, dedicating a lot of free resources elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, MaNa was just so crisp that last game, and I like what he's doing here. He's gone for a Nexus first, into a Gateway, and then into the gases. This is basically the greediest build you can possibly do as a Protoss player.
Yeah.
But he's been looking at how Petraeus is playing, and he's always going for a fast expand into a sort of gas play. Petraeus is playing this ultra-safe game, so MaNa grabbing a little bit of an economy lead here early is going to be fantastic for his follow-through.
Yes, it is, as we do have now already the spawning pool on done, and he's getting himself those queens. So how is MaNa's wall off looking? It's looking pretty darn good. He'll be just having that Zealot on out pretty soon to be able to keep himself well and truly bunkered down. Oh yeah. Gonna come out with those Zerglings. Petraeus does want to scout, see exactly what's going on. Doesn't have much information at all yet. Doesn't even know where MaNa's spawned. MaNa on the same, by the same token, is just looking for the 3rd base of Petraeus. He's kind of eliminated where he could possibly be, and he's just coming down, taking a look to check what's up, and he's actually going to dive into the main. He wants to spot the gas. Ooh. Trying to get in there. The Queen knows that he wants to deny, but it's very, very difficult when it's off creep, and he will be able to loop around here, so good information for MaNa. Does spot that gas with that speed already on the way. What a great juke there from MaNa. Now he knows exactly what he's up against. He knows, oh, okay, Petraeus, you're doing the same safe sort of opening, fast Zergling speed with a little bit of a delayed 3rd base. He's like, all right, you're not mining gas anymore. There's no cheese. And this is fantastic. MaNa can just go ahead with whatever his game plan is. And we can see already in the back of his base, there is a very fast Twilight Council going down. Also that probe being hidden down towards the bottom right-hand side. So already, again, MaNa setting things in motion to try and disrupt his opponent that he knows, if does gather momentum, if he gets on towards the later stages in the position that he wants to be, he will be very, very comfortable. Roach Warren going down for Petraeus. Blink already being researched here for MaNa. Ooh, this is a fantastic build for this map. Looks like he's going to get a very fast Blink Stalker timing, probably with just 2 or 3 gas geysers, really rushing with that. One thing for me to ask you, Pig, is how does Petraeus read into this? Because at the moment, getting an Overlord all the way to the back corner of this map could be extremely difficult. Is there anything else? Is there anything else here that Petraeus can try and read into? Oh, so far all he knows is that there's a Stalker out and that there isn't a 3rd gas taken or a 4th gas taken on the natural. Right. But he can only spot one of those, so he can't read into that. But ooh, this Zergling. Oh, it does see the pylon. That gives him a big tell. He doesn't know what it means. So Petraeus is still kind
kind of doing general things, but he's building a pack of Zerglings now. He's trying to figure out, wait, what exactly are you trying to do? And because this timing wants to hit so fast, this is a big delay on MaNa. It's going to be really hard for him to get another probe across.
At the moment, Spore Crawlers have gone down each mineral line here, and it's not going to be too useful at all, but Petraeus is just trying to cover all of his bases, as you say, trying to figure out what is the next step here for MaNa, because we do have even the probe moving out here towards the left-hand side to try and throw down maybe...
Oh, MaNa's army, is it going to get seen by these overlords? I think it is. Perfect positioning by Petraeus, and the moment he sees these Stalkers, he knows what's up.
It's perfect positioning, because all importantly, I don't think MaNa's army knows that it's been spotted just yet by the Overlord. So it's very, very strong a position there for Petraeus to be able to cover that kind of avenue. Oh. Well, now he knows it's been spotted.
Now he definitely does. Almost losing a Stalker, but good maintenance of his units there, maintaining a lot of them. He wants to push in. He's got a lot of Stalkers. There's no sentries. He's got to hit hard and fast, and he wants to blossom. He wants to get a big number of Stalkers.
Sending his spores forwards here, knowing they're not going to be too useful in any kind of defensive mineral lines. He wants to set them up there so they could try and deny a Mothership Core if it was to go forwards, but the Lings have already got surround onto this. Good blink back there, though, for MaNa to make sure he can keep all of those units alive against that force.
And that's what it's all about here for MaNa, just keeping every single Stalker alive, using that Blink Micro and whittling down Petraeus' force. He cannot let himself get overwhelmed. If he ever gets overwhelmed, Petraeus can crush him. But if these Stalkers can keep warping in and keep building their number, then Petraeus will be doomed.
Get to critical mass here for MaNa. That's the big question. Will he be able to do it? Blinking back these once again, keeping them all alive. All he has to do is blink them back once they take shield damage, and he will be fine. This is a great trade here for MaNa so far. Very, very impressive Blink Micro. Not losing a single Stalker during that firepower, and keep on going. Keep on trading against those roaches. Resources lost is going to be very in favor of MaNa here.
Oh, wow. What a hold with these Blink Stalker Micro. He just isn't losing any Stalkers. He is crushing it.
GG! MaNa takes the 4th game, and he moves it on to the 5th and final match to decide who is going to be moving on to the round of 4. Great, great control by MaNa.
The comebacks we are seeing today are absolutely insane. I can't even believe it right now.
He's found his comfort. I mean, for a long time. We have seen MaNa falling back onto those aggressive maneuvers, and it has worked over and over and over. And going into game number 5 now, he may do something similar to it, and Petraeus might not have the answer. Just like there, being able to account for that many Stalkers and that kind of control, you need to know about it early on, and you need to have the exact right response.
You really do, and MaNa just so decisive, pushed in so fast, even with the pylon being scouted, overwhelming with the pristine Blink Stalker control. It seems like he's found what works. It's Blink Stalkers. It's worked twice in a row. I mean...
Make more Blink Stalkers!
He just seems to be finding these timings where he's getting in right before Petraeus gets to that comfort zone. We were saying it from before the match even started on the desk. The boys were saying that's what he's got to do here. He's got to disrupt Petraeus. I mean, sure, Petraeus looks amazing in the late game, but MaNa has found his weak point.
Yes, he has. Now Petraeus just taking a small moment here to compose himself before this 5th game. Our next map is going to be Terraform, and it all comes down to this. MaNa, the home crowd favorite here, has pushed it on to a game number 5 after things looked very, very difficult in game number 1 and 2. Being able to find that and grasp that opportunity here on the last season here of the World Championship Series in 2015. All important. But for now, guys, we are going to head over to the analysis desk before game number 5 to find out their thoughts on the current shape of things.
From 0-2 Autosis to 2-2, then the deciding match. MaNa's asked for a couple of minutes break, which of course is in his rights. A very tense moment here for all the fans, everyone watching around the world. He's managed to crawl it back.
Yeah, I think that Petraeus is a bit shaken. I think that right now all of this chanting might be getting to him. He sees what side the crowd is on. I think that MaNa can do it. I want to know if you guys want to change your votes over to MaNa. We're going to give you a shot.
I would never be more excited to be wrong. Like, there is such a cool story about MaNa. I mean, Kevin's been harping on this all week long. He was 0-2 against Happy, one of the most terrifying Terrans in the European scene. Crawls back, and here he is in the round of 8. All of us doubting him. The fans are behind him, and he's back from 0-2 to 2-2. I mean, it would be, what an incredible story.
Todd, how much pressure is on his back right now, Petraeus' back, going into this last series? He's lost the last 2 in a row. We saw what happened earlier on with Lilbo versus Hydra, and we saw what happened then. You think that Petraeus in that booth right now is really feeling the heat?
I think, yeah, definitely. Likewise, MaNa is, though. Both players, they're feeling the heat right now. They're definitely very nervous, but again, MaNa is the one with the crowd on his side, and I feel like that helps a lot.
And 2 games in a row is always fantastic to have, right? You've won the last 2 in a row. You're starting to believe it yourself now that you perhaps may not have been at the start of the series.
There's something to be said for momentum, but also I kind of want to go back to what Artosis said at the beginning. He said, if this goes to map number 5, he thinks MaNa has gotten past the hard maps and is going to take it home, and this crowd would absolutely explode. It would be pierogies for everyone. Pierogies are amazing, by the way.
Indeed.
But, I mean, is this Cinderella story in a way going to happen here? Game 5, can you remember the map that it was?
Terraform, I think?
Terraform, right? Yeah, Terraform. So going into this, so far in 2015, it has been 7 apiece in the World Championship Series here, Artosis.
Yes. Lucky number 7. It is time for MaNa to move to the round of 4.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. There is no more waiting to be had. MaNa is ready, Petraeus is ready, the commentators are ready. For one last time, it's Game 5.
Oh yes, we are. The final game of the night here, as we do have MaNa trying to make a miraculous recovery, but against Petraeus, once again, we have to reiterate how powerful he can be in these series, but MaNa's not letting him get to his comfort zone.
This is what MaNa lives for. He's like, you know what? Everyone's saying I shouldn't win this match. And then he's like, guess what? I'm going to just find a way.
Yeah.
He's just going to grind it down to that last moment. And he is so good at digging deep in these moments. I would be so scared if I was in Petraeus' shoes right now.
Yeah, I would as well, as we now get into game number 5. This will decide it all. Who is moving on to the round of 4 here between our New Zealand player and our Polish player? As Net Wars represents the Polish. They will cheer. Let's get into it. Terraform is our map. Spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, it is our blue Zerg representing New Zealand. It is Petraeus. And maybe for one last time, Poland, spawning up to the top left-hand corner, as our red Protoss representing Team Liquid. Give it up for MaNa! I think he heard you.
MaNa has pulled it back to match point. He's 2-2. And I mean, that is just incredible. And Petraeus is still a scary force, but now suddenly the momentum has completely swung.
Yeah.
Look at this, Petraeus is scouting around with his drone. I mean, he's got to be worried right now, and it's such a bad feeling to lose after you've won the first 2 maps. Oh, but he's gonna pull the special one out.
Here we go.
Oh, Petraeus loves these gold-based builds, and there's so many options he can do off that. At the same, I mean, MaNa hasn't scouted this game yet. He has no idea this is happening, so this is going to be really hard for him to adapt to.
I like how for this entire series, game 1, 2, 3, and 4, Petraeus has been, you know, on cruise control, just doing his own game, and now he's floored it. He's put down the pedal. He has gone gold base. He is going to be on fire here if MaNa is not able to disrupt. So whereas in all the other games, disruption has been incredibly important here for MaNa to try and kind of swerve that. Now, in game number 5 is where he really needs to stop Petraeus. He really needs to shut him down.
You are spot on there, James. This is going to be so important. And look at this. He's already got his killer instincts on the way. He already sends the probe on this route and scouts the gold base immediately. And he doesn't even show the probe there. Pulls it back so he can hide it for some future aggression.
Oh, where's he going?
MaNa looks like he already has a plan. He was expecting this as one of the options going into this map, and he definitely has a plan with how to deal with it.
Now is the time for MaNa where you bring out the build. You've seen it. You've seen what you want to see. You've seen everything that you need to know. Nexus is going to go down behind this. What does MaNa have in store for us? Already, this pro positioning itself in such an interesting location. What is he going to do with this later on?
This is really cool because if you think about it, Petraeus has skipped his natural, so there's this big space between his bases.
Yes.
Now, as MaNa, if you can get between those, it's very difficult. Even though to some extent you're surrounded, it's very hard for the Zerg to stop you kind of shoving your way in one direction.
Separating things up.
Exactly. So MaNa may plan to do an attack from between those bases a little bit later on.
Tooling's already on the way for Petraeus, though. He's looking to disrupt MaNa, that's for sure, on the other side of this map. But the Mothership core should be fine to be able to push this on away. Tries to be a bit greedy, get in for that probe, but it's not going to be happening anytime soon.
MaNa adding 2 more gateways here. He's going to just be building a sentry for the moment. Doesn't look like he wants to power up into aggression just yet. He's going to go too crazy. Yeah, and a 4th gateway goes down in the main base. All right, looks like he's going to be going for a big Zealot attack. Something like the patented Sun Gate.
4 gates. This is a drag race right now. Oh my god, Petraeus already had his foot on the pedal. MaNa is going to be able to floor it right next to him as well. Pylon goes down here towards the right-hand side. MaNa is banking on being able to hit from the right, whilst the defense is being set up on the left.
And look at that. I mean, Petraeus going for the spine crawler. That's not a very mobile piece of defense. He's really focusing on defending the gold base. But if MaNa suddenly just shifts the aggression towards the main or in between the rally points, this could get out of hand very quickly. But don't get me wrong, MaNa's banking a lot on this. He's got to do a lot with these warp-ins.
Was this probe sent across, or was this the one that he kept back there? No, it was not. It was the one that was sent across. This is selling the idea here to Petraeus that there is nothing going on that right-hand side.
No. Petraeus has no idea. He thinks his Zergling speed is keeping him safe because he's shut down the probe in his mind. But he doesn't even realize there's another probe, there's another pylon, and MaNa is being so patient. He is just warping in units, and it's time.
Here come all the units warping in here. MaNa at the moment is going to push on towards this location. Pylon's going to go down at the natural. And as this has not been seen just yet here for Petraeus, how is he going to react? He's got a lot of lings in production. Now he sees the probe. Now he sees the pylon. This is exactly where he's already got a lot of preparation on the window, but he's going to be able to seal him out of his main base. There's not that many links here. He needs to get on towards the sentry. Look at this, focusing him down. Great pick up there for Petraeus to actually get on towards the sentry. He's going to try and get another one. He needs somehow to buy more time against all of these Zerglings. Roaches are on the way as well.
There's no way to shut down the ramp for MaNa now, but he's going for the Roach Warren.
He's going to get the Roach Warren here. If he's able to kill that off, but Spike Crawlers are going down behind this here for Petraeus to try and keep all of this going, but he doesn't really have that many units. 8 Roaches are in production. If they can pop out and if he can micro them well enough against this, but he's going to be sealed up against them. As these Roaches end up popping out, they're going to be on top of Zealots.
The Zealots around is real. He is absolutely destroying Petraeus. MaNa found the weak point with his beautifully planned build, and he is ripping Petraeus' defense apart.
The Spine Crawlers are doing a lot of damage here. Has to fall back. Can't continue on with that. There's no anti-air here. There's no anti-air at all. That Mothership is going to have free reign over this location for a long time. MaNa, at the moment, just needs to continue warping in, doing what he can. He has a lot of pylons to be able to reinforce from. The Roaches and Zerglings scrambling to try for the go for the defense. He's going to maybe get one of these Spine Crawlers. That's so many Zealots MaNa has.
Time warp there as well. The Zealots in the choke point, destroying the Zerglings. Perfect positioning from MaNa.
Army supply advantage of MaNa at the moment. He's 28 supply against 19. Petraeus is on the ropes. He is on the ropes here, trying to micro back some of these drones as well, keeping the Roaches alive, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The second Spine Crawler falls. MaNa is making the recovery here in the series. He does it! GG! MaNa is able to make it on to the round of 4 here in Poland. What an amazing, amazing performance.
He turns it around, turns it upside down. He comes back from 0-2 down. Never count this man out.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is MaNa!
Wow. He deserves it. A word to all the fans here and around the world who are watching.
Okay. Bardzo, bardzo wam dziękuję.
These guys have been going insane for you that whole game. Another reverse sweep today. We had one earlier, but I mean, what was it like in that 5th game when you kept that probe hidden and you just, did you have a feeling you're like, all right, it's happening. Like, I know I can win this. Did that run through your head?
For a second, yes, but then somehow his links disappeared in front of my naturals. I'm like, all right, he's scouting for my proxy pilot. I'm like, I'm not ready yet to get scouted, you know, and luckily he didn't see the proxy panel at his 3rd. I didn't show him my probe from the very beginning, so I think he was a little bit confused. I also kept my mothership cover at home, so he's like, well, it's a macro game. He makes the 3rd hatchery, and I just walk up the ramp and win.
When you did, I have one last question. Was that the easiest match of your life, MaNa?
I think we should ask Petraeus.
Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, MaNa, the home crowd favorite, moves on to the semifinals. He keeps it alive. Let's see what the experts had to say. Remember, they voted 8-0 for Petraeus. I can't wait to see their faces.
Thank you very much, Chobra. You certainly are the 4th best host in the world. Welcome back to the analyst's desk. And he did it. Artosis, your curse has been lifted. MaNa
Never was such a thing.
Takes it 3 games to 2. The reverse sweep from 2-0 down. He got the crowd behind him. Petraeus felt the nerves, and it happened.
I have never been this happy to be so completely wrong. Like, the picture of his girlfriend and him embracing on the stage, the fans coming up there and throwing him up in the air,
That's
him
never
being
been done
speechless,
before,
like all of this is just, what a good story. And it's WCS like giving these guys the opportunity to rise up and play in front of a home audience like this and overcome the odds. Like, let's not forget, we were like, Petraeus is the big favorite, and then he gets slayed right here. It's amazing.
Absolutely, MaNa on Terraform too, like, which, as we said, definitely was going to be one of the maps where he was going to have an easier time, but we kind of forgot about the goal base. The goal base is pretty darn tough to play against. He came up with a good solution. Petraeus is known to use a lot of those goal bases, and in the end, the hidden probe on the map.
Artosis, experience was the underline of this series, would you say? You mentioned it a lot in the pregame.
I mean, he knew what he had to do here to actually pick up a victory. These were very strategic, I think. As Todd just pointed out, that final map, he clearly knew that Petraeus was likely to take the gold, hid the probe, he scouted it right off the bat as well. He really knew what he was doing, and this is a guy that has been a pro for like basically 9 years or so.
He faked it too. He had a probe out on the map and he sent out another scouting probe just to seal the deal. And it worked. Petraeus went for a 3rd base against an unsaturated natural. Like, MaNa pulled the wool over his eyes and executed the Protoss, the dank Protoss cheese that you either love or you hate it. But in this case, man, it's taken him to the round of 4. How can you not love that?
That's pretty insane. Let me just outline this real quick. The 2 guys that might be able to make it to BlizzCon are both in the round of 4.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
The hometown hero, MaNa, is in the round of 4. We literally could not have had a better day than today.
It's a fantastic set of players. And let's check in with the bracket. You guys can see this at home. We've completed the quarterfinals. We've completed the round of 8, leaving us with just 3 big matches left to go. Zanster versus Lilbo in the top semi-final. It will be, of course, slight mistake there. And in the bottom one, it is 4GG versus MaNa. MaNa gets into the semi-finals, and with Lilbo 4GG fighting for a place at BlizzCon, this, as you said, is a fantastic top 4.
I can't wait. You guys have been an amazing audience to commentate and be completely wrong in front of, actually, in the predictions. We do apologize. I don't think it'll be an 8-0 next time, man, as the predictions come up. I don't think we're going to doubt him quite as hard again. He's got his work cut out for him. It's gonna be tough.
Fantastic top 4. And so, if you were to predict a winner, Artosis, who would it be?
Oh no, not that dirty. Come on, no. Don't say anything, please.
No, we're not doing that.
Look, I think Lil Bo is going to the finals on that side of the bracket.
God.
My French friend. And as far as the other side goes, I have to go with MaNa. The way he pulled that out, he is going all the way, man.
But who's going to win, Artosis? Who do you think's going to win?
So, I mean, MaNa, of course.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We've had a lot of fun here on the World Championship Series in the Premier League. We have one final day to go. Tomorrow, we'll be back with the semi-finals. I hope to see you there. Remember to check out StarCraft2.com/WCS for all the information regarding the Premier League. We'll see you tomorrow.
One game away from the quarterfinals.